Is a Subaru STi really an STi without its wing? Of course it's not. The wing is an iconic Subaru look, and it's a look I've always wanted. So we're installing this paint matched Noble OE wing sent over by Import Image Racing. This wing does require drilling holes into your trunk, which might seem intimidating, but don't fret, we're gonna break it down. We also have an additional bonus install that pairs perfectly with it, so be sure to stick around for that. So what do we have here? We have all of our bolt mounting tape, self-tapping screws to mount everything together. We also have our mounting template to make sure we have a perfect alignment. We have our wing risers, and of course we have the actual wing itself. So it is ABS plastic. It feels pretty strong just from first touch, but more importantly, how well does it match the paint? I mean, that's pretty close. We'll have to take a look at it in the daylight, but it looks really close. I mean, that's a pretty close match. The inside of the trunk has a liner attached with pop clips that we can use a pop clip tool to remove and set aside. Whoever made pop clips, I despise them. You hurt your fingers and you lose them and you break them. Before we start drilling, we need to mark our holes. The template is labeled R and L for right side, which is passenger, and that's where we're gonna start. I'm using painter's tape to make sure it doesn't move and lays completely flat. You'll know it's correct because the template aligns perfectly with the top of the trunk lid, the side, and the low profile spoiler. There are 2 marked spots on the template that show where you need to drill. So I don't ruin the template by drilling through these marked spots. I picked up this spring action centering punch from Ace Hardware. It leaves a small dent in the metal, so when you go to drill, there's no worry about the bit slipping. Drilling into your trunk may sound difficult, and it's something you may not feel comfortable doing, but as long as your template was in line and you take your time, you'll be golden. Before you drill the full 9mm hole, you'll want to start with a small pilot. This is going to make drilling with the larger bit much easier. The hole that is near the low profile spoiler has 2 layers that you have to drill through, and it's much thicker on the bottom, so I had to be patient with this one. Then using the 9mm drill bit, you can drill the full size. I found for the second layer that drilling from the inside of the trunk was much easier. Once you've got one side wrapped up, you'll flip the template over and follow the same process for the other side. Tape and align it, dent your trunk lid to no return with a centering punch, drill a small pilot hole, then the full size holes, but drilling the secondary layer from the inside. If you want to see more content just like this, be sure to slam that subscribe button down below and turn on those notifications. Oh, and give this video a thumbs up. I hear it's good for the algorithm. To avoid getting any water underneath the risers, we're going to seal it with 3M double-sided foam tape. To ensure a strong bond, we're cleaning it with IPA cleaner. It comes as one long roll, so you'll simply wrap it all the way around the bottom of the risers and cut it at the end. It can bend very well, so it's easy to wrap around the corners. Don't forget to use the IPA cleaner on your trunk lid as well too. Before I started bolting anything up, I did a test fitting to make sure everything aligned up okay and there was no misalignment. Before you make this comment, this is an STi, not a WRX, so no shade in the comment section, please. I found that attaching the wing directly to the risers off the car was much easier than trying to do it on the car, so I put it on a workbench and tightened all 6 bolts down to snug. This would be much easier with another person, but if you go slow and take your time, you can do it yourself. I started with the hole by the low profile spoiler and I guided it through with my hand, and once I saw it come through, I was able to attach it to one side of the wing. I did the same on the other side, but be sure not to tighten them down too much because you need the space to remove the double-sided tape. The rear bolts are much harder because you have to keep the trunk so low so you don't drop the bolt. Just be patient and guide it through slowly. Once everything looks good, I use a small knife to peel back the double-sided tape and then tighten everything down. Don't over tighten. The final step is to use the 2 included bottom covers and attach them using the self-tapping screws. With my drill on the lowest torque setting, I simply went slow, and once threaded through, I finished them off with a screwdriver by hand.
What's going on, man?
Oh, check this out. What do you think? What's so funny?
I love it.
Do you think it's faster than your Porsche now?
No, I don't. I mean, maybe. Depends on what else you've done. I don't think the wing's gonna make it much faster though.
Don't make me drive all the way to California to prove you wrong.
Please, please, anytime you want, you're welcome for a track day.
What?
I think that makes it less aerodynamic.
What do you think?
That's the right thing to do.
Typically, we'd install that liner we took off inside the trunk back on, but there's one other mod that pairs perfectly with this wing that we're going to install. But first, we're gonna take this for a quick drive to see if there's any whistling, any flexing, or any issues with the wing itself. I went for a quick drive going 45, 60 to 75 miles an hour, and there was no whistling or any sound coming through the cabin. I also kept checking to see if it had any kind of flex or if the wing was bouncing up and down, and there was nothing noticeable that I saw. But there's one thing I'm just not quite happy with. The Crystal Pearl White looks really great. The paint match is very, very close, especially for being one of of the hardest colors to match. The fitment is spot on and it sits perfectly into the low profile spoiler, which is what I'm actually just not feeling. I think it looks a little odd with the low profile spoiler, so Import Image Racing also sent over this Noble painted trunk hole cover to replace it and give the rear end a cleaner look. And it's a very simple install. The low profile spoiler is attached with 2 bolts from the inside of the trunk, which you will need an extension to reach, and once those are unbolted, it simply pops right out with the 3 clips holding it in place. It's going to be attached with 3M double-sided tape, so we need to ensure the trunk lid and the cover are both cleaned with the IPA cleaner I previously used. Once the tape is cut in place, we simply need to align it up to the trunk lid and press firmly on the trunk for a few seconds. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out this video right here. It's more on the STi build.